こんにちは、ハリケーンフットボールです。今回の教材はブライトンの三笘薫に関する動画です。ブライトンはチェルシー相手に FA カップとプレミアリーグでダブルを達成し、三笘薫は2試合連続での決勝ゴールを決め、プレミアリーグで決めたそのセンセーショナルなゴールは、シーズンベストゴールとも言われ、プレミア最高のタッチだとも話されています。今回は絶好フットボールチャンネルの動画で、その三笘の衝撃ゴールを振り返りながら、チェルシーを圧倒したブライトンの戦術に関しても解説しています。この2試合でブライトンに対する期待が大きく上がりましたが、絶好フットボールではこの試合をどのように分析したのか、チェックしてみましょう。
6 days after Brighton knocked Chelsea out of the FA Cup, they have smashed them by 3-0 in a game which saw Chelsea not get a single shot on target. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at how they did it, including a look at the tactics involved that not only stopped Chelsea, but also helped Brighton carve them apart. Tactical flexibility is something that many coaches desperately want, the ability to present in one way, but then change when the time suits. Brighton and Fabian Herzler did this pretty perfectly in their game against Chelsea, presenting as a back four in possession and through their average positions, but when it came to the defensive work, utilising a different formation entirely to get the job done, and essentially to prevent Chelsea from really progressing the ball forwards. But it was when Brighton were in possession that I really want to mention. The spreading of Webster and Van Hecke allowed for Brighton to then bring Verbruggen into the game, pushing Lamptey forwards and allowing for Mitoma to make this drifting infield run. Utilising the high line that Chelsea wanted to play, Brighton looked to really exploit that. Because Chelsea wanted to condense the space in the middle of the park to prevent Caicedo from having too much work, their press needed to be on. But the way that Brighton spread themselves gave Chelsea a lot of space to cover. It was a risky tactic, but one that ended up paying off later down the line, especially through these brilliant runs of Mitoma from Rutte and Minter making those dynamic plays on the other side. And it wasn't before too long that Brighton saw dividends. And it was through that build-up of play that Brighton got their first goal. Before we forward this on, I just want to take a note of where the Brighton defenders are. So here is your right-back in Joel Veltman. Here is Van Hecke, one of your centre-backs. Your other centre-back is way over towards this side. That is Webster. Again, making sure that that play is really spread out, and then just a bit further ahead of him, you have your left-back in Lamptey. Now, if we just join all that together, that's a really spread back four, and it means that your verticality is going to come through the midfielders in Hinshelwood and in Baleba. You've got Verbruggen on the ball currently, and due to the run and movement of Mitoma, you're going to get Verbruggen playing that pass. But again, you're spreading that Chelsea press, you're making them run those extra yards, which means that then further later down the line, you've got overload capabilities from your attackers onto Chelsea's defenders. So as this goes forwards, you've got Verbruggen ready to pick his pass. He sees Mitoma running towards the last line of Chelsea's defence, and he plays it over the top. Now, before we forward it on any further, let's take a look at what I'm talking about when I mean that overload. So you've got Minter here, you've got Rutte, you've got Welbeck, and you've got Mitoma running in between that inside channel, between fullback and centre-back. And you've also got Lamptey on this far side. So you've essentially got 5 attackers, 5 defenders, giving Brighton that balance between their side. But it's the run from Mitoma that gives them that attacking power and that attacking threat. And then it's all about the run and the play and the touch, the skill from Mitoma to take it, to just bring it out of the sky. It is absolutely sensational. I mean, look at this touch. It's probably one of the best touches of football you're going to see in the Premier League this season. It's absolutely sensational to take it from over the shoulder. You're not seeing it too clearly. You're able to have one touch, bring it under control, and then you're away. And that's exactly what Mitoma did, driving in field, turning Chalobah inside and out, allowing for Mitoma to drive through the heart of this Chelsea defence. And look at how much space he's got to work with. We mentioned that high Chelsea line, and Brighton are exploiting it pretty brilliantly here. Mitoma drives infield, and then it gives himself an opportunity, a couple of moments to take a shot. He shoots towards the bottom right-hand corner, and he fires it in, and it's well deserved due to the touch, due to the great play. But again, Chelsea's defence was exposed due to that real bravery on the ball from their build-up, allowing for those attackers to overload that defensive situation. It is brilliant. But it wasn't just offensively that Brighton were absolutely fantastic. They also stifled Chelsea's creativity on a number of occasions. Remember, Chelsea didn't have a single shot on target this game, and that's down to the Brighton game plan that they managed to execute to near perfection. They set up with their tactical flexibility with a back five, 4 midfielders in front of them and then Danny Welbeck, and what this did was it really closed down the middle of the pitch. We all know at this point, and obviously Fabian Herzler does as well, they know how Chelsea are going to build up, obviously inverting one of the fullbacks to create that midfield superiority, those numbers in midfield, but then it's about what do you do with it. I think Chelsea is starting to hit a wall here, and I could go into further detail about what I think is wrong with Chelsea. If you'd like to see that, Chelsea fans, let me know in the comment section below. But generally, Brighton did a brilliant job of preventing the centre of the pitch from being exploited, allowing for those players out on the wings to have all of the time and space they want. Obviously, they're going to be contested by the likes of Minter, by the likes of Lamptey, but there were no extra runs. There was no runs in beyond. There's no runs into these inside channels. You haven't got any interplay. And Chelsea's attacks started to become quite stale. You can't cross the ball to Nkunku because he's not a physical presence like that. You can't really hit the byline because you've got overloads here. You're not going to really get the ball to Nkunku unless it's a perfect pass. So Chelsea's attacks really did fizzle out, and it left them essentially shooting from the outside of the box. And from that point, it became pretty easy for Brighton. And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is the Brighton back five. You've got Minter, you've got Veltman, you've got Van Hecke, you've got Webster, and you've got Lamptey. Look how narrow they are. Look, they're just preventing the centre of the pitch from being exploited, preventing that progression from Chelsea. Then look at the midfield four. You've got Ruter, you've got Beleba, you've got Hinshelwood, and you've got Mitoma again. Really narrow, really compact, and you've got Danny Welbeck up front. Now, if we draw a line at Danny Welbeck and draw a line at the back five, look at the barely any space there is for Chelsea to operate in the centre. If I just draw this, it's essentially a box that Brighton have created, preventing Chelsea from having any kind of progression through this area, forcing them into these wide channels. But that's not where Chelsea want to be, because they can't make the most of the players that they have when they're out wide. Yes, they can hit the byline, but they're going to be outnumbered by the Brighton defenders, and the ball is going to be cleared more often than not. You can't get the ball to Cole Palmer. He's completely isolated in the situation. You can't pass the ball to him because he's going to be swarmed. You're going to turn over the ball and then leave yourselves open to another counter-attack. This is really well done by Brighton, but Chelsea have a big problem, and they need to fix it soon. They are too easily played against. They're too easily read, and teams defended them against them far too easily, like Brighton did. They set up a wall, said, go on, try to beat us, and Chelsea just couldn't come up with any solution. But again, Brighton did brilliant. And in contrast to Chelsea, funnily enough, Brighton's main attacking outlets came from their utilisation of the wide areas. The use of Mitoma and Minter in these particular examples gave them a real attacking power and threat, and it's in fact through Mitoma and Minter that I think Chelsea's wingers could really learn quite a lot from. Not necessarily just with isolating 1v1 duels, but with the willingness to be putting themselves into situations to best suit their teammates. I think when you look at Minter and Mitoma and what work they did for their side, not just through their running capabilities on the ball, but they really did offer a whole heap more than what Chelsea's wingers offered them in this particular game. But we're going to start with Ruter. Ruter is going to make a driving, dynamic run into the box. He's going to be attacking Malo Gusto, but Gusto has a problem. Because he doesn't have his winger to help double up against Mitoma, Gusto always needs to be concerned about the possibility of a pass over to the Brighton winger from Ruter. This means that there is going to be hesitation in that Chelsea backline from Malo Gusto, and there's going to be an issue, and it's that issue and that hesitation that Ruter is going to take advantage of. Because as he drives towards Gusto, you've got an option on the back post in Minter. Now this is something that I think Cucurella needs to be aware of. If you play as narrow as Chelsea do, which is fine, it's really good defensive work, this is absolutely fine, but when you play that narrow, you've got to be aware of what's around you, and I think Cucurella needs to be aware of what Minter is doing, because he is currently in acres of space. Let's move back over to Ruter, because he's going to drive at Gusto. Again, concerned about the pass to Mitoma. He can't dive in. He can't play that movement. He can't make sure that he can close down Ruta because there's always an option. There's always a pass. And that is a problem. Ruta drives at Gusto and then plays across into the box. Now, it's this point that it gets really unfortunate because it obviously gets deflected off of Colwill onto Jorgensen and then comes back out. But it's that moment, and it's the moment that follows that we really see the proper class and the experience of Danny Welbeck, because he could very easily, in this current moment, he could very easily spin on a dime for himself and take a shot. But instead he realises the opportunity. He sees Minter in front of him and he's in a better opportunity. He can take a touch. He can even shoot. He's in a better moment. And that is really good heads-up experienced play from the experienced forward player in Brighton's side. He passes it over to Minter, who sees an on-running Cucurella. Now this piece of skill is absolutely fantastic. It might seem really simple, and it is, but he just darts inside once to really take away the block from Cucurella and then finish it pretty brilliantly. Yet again, Brighton isolating and using the wide areas to fantastic effect, something I think Chelsea could learn quite a bit from. Finally, let's take a look at Brighton's third goal, and I think this could be split into two different parts. The first part being the lack of experience that I think Enzo Maresca has seen within this Chelsea side, really rearing its ugly head in one singular moment, and the efficiency of this Brighton side to capitalise on a Chelsea mistake. Let's start with Chelsea, because I think that's quite important. Enzo Maresca was criticised quite a lot for saying that Chelsea simply are not ready to be challenging for either a title or continuous major honours, and I don't think that's necessarily down to just the inconsistency of them either between matches or even within a singular match itself. I think it's down to moments like this. Moments that he just loses the belief in the experience of these players, and that's not to be really criticised, because this is a very inexperienced group of players. They're very young, and I think that's showcased here, because as Colwill drives out with the ball, he's trying to help his team, he's trying to take some space, but he feels like he's being fouled, and that's absolutely fine. But the referee disagrees, and the moment the referee disagrees, you need to frankly get up and help your side. He doesn't. He sits on the floor and complains, and this is while Brighton are currently recycling the ball out towards their wide area, their right-hand side, Chelsea's left-hand side. Look at Colwill here. He's just sat complaining about a challenge that he feels should have happened. Now, I think you need to be understanding the situation, understanding the moment that you've put your team in, and you need to get up and recover. And it's in this moment that he does not do that. He's still on the floor complaining. He's sat looking at the referee while Brighton are having their attack. That is simply not good enough from a person who's expecting to either be Chelsea captain or to be leading his side from the back in major situations. But now let's talk about Brighton, because I think Brighton need to be given a lot of credit for the efficiency that they took when trying to capitalise on this Chelsea mistake. As they drive down the right-hand side, Minter, who I thought was absolutely sensational, needs some help. And it's this help that comes in the form of Danny Welbeck to assist him with a 1-2. Although Sancho does a good job of driving down this right to try and stop Minter, it is almost a little bit too late because of the space that's been afforded to Brighton already. As he gets this 1-2 with Danny Welbeck, Welbeck plays in a perfect pass and it allows Minter to then drive through both Cucurella and Sancho. It's through this that Colwill now starts to make his way back, but it's now too late because Danny Welbeck is going to play this pass. This 1-2 is absolutely brilliant, and it's funny with the rates and the experience of professional footballers how efficient a simple 1-2 is. And in this particular case, Minter's speed, his ability and Welbeck's passing range gives them the moment and the opportunity to take this space. It's in this moment that Minter finds himself in a really dangerous situation for Chelsea and obviously a really prosperous situation for Brighton. Cucurella tries to make a last-ditch tackle, a last-ditch block. Minter reads this and drifts infield, again cutting inside once more, almost a carbon copy of what he did to Cucurella for Brighton's second goal. He then fires towards goal and puts Brighton 3-0 up. I think Brighton taught Chelsea quite a few lessons here on how to defend, on how to be attacking how to generally be resolute, but also extremely dangerous. It was a sensational performance that I think these young Chelsea players will learn quite a lot from in the future matches to come. But of course, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. What did you make of Brighton? What did you make of Chelsea? And how do you see both teams finishing come the end of the season? I would love to hear from you, so please do let me know. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.
次は解説です。FA カップのチェルシー戦でもこの絶好フットボールチャンネルの分析動画を取り上げましたが、この動画も同様に、ナレーション形式で話している動画であることから、カジュアルな会話表現やスラングは少なかったですね。今回は簡単なボキャブラリーも含めて解説していますので、本日の解説をチェックしてみましょ
う。But also helped Brighton carve them apart.
カーブアパートは、切り裂く、徹底的に崩すという意味を持つフレーズで、特にスポーツ、戦術、批評の文脈でよく使われます。サッカーの試合では、強力な攻撃が守備を崩すときに使われ、ビジネスや政治の場面では政策や戦略を徹底的に批判する意味でも登場します。スポーツニュースや分析記事を読む際に役立つ表現です。
But also helped Brighton carve them apart. But also helped Brighton carve them apart. And it wasn't before too long that Brighton saw dividends.
デビデンドはもともと配当金という意味の金融用語ですが、スポーツやビジネスの文脈では成果、報酬という比喩的な意味で使われ、特に努力が報われる、結果が出るといった文脈で使われることが多いです。ビジネス英語としても品質の単語なので覚えておくと役立つでしょ
う。And it wasn't before too long that Brighton saw dividends. And it wasn't before too long that Brighton saw dividends. They also stifled Chelsea's creativity on a number of occasions.
スタイフルは抑える、抑圧する、窒息させるといった意味を持つ動詞で、文脈によって物理的な意味で息を止めるという意味で使われることはもちろん、比喩的に自由や創造性を抑えるという意味でも使われます。スポーツやビジネスの文脈では、相手の攻撃や成長を封じる意味でよく使われます。
They also stifled Chelsea's creativity on a number of occasions. They also stifled Chelsea's creativity on a number of occasions. And Chelsea's attacks started to become quite stale.
ステールは新鮮でない、古くなった、マンネリ化したなどの意味を持つ形容詞で、主に食べ物、空気、アイデア、状況などに使われ、新鮮さや活気を失ったことを表します。ビジネスやスポーツの文脈では、戦略がマンネリ化した。チームのプレーが新鮮味を失ったという意味で使われることもあり、職場環境や人間関係の話題でも耳にするでしょ
う。And Chelsea's attacks started to become quite stale. And Chelsea's attacks started to become quite stale. So Chelsea's attacks really did fizzle out.
フィズルアウトは徐々に勢いを失い、最終的に消えてしまうという意味のフレーズで。スポーツでは失速する。ビジネスではプロジェクトが頓挫する。人間関係では自然消滅するといった使われ方をします。特に期待されていたものが成功しなかった時に使われることが多く、ビジネス会話やスポーツの話題ではよく耳にする表現です。
So Chelsea's attacks really did fizzle out. So Chelsea's attacks really did fizzle out because he's going to be swarmed.
スウォームは群れ、大群や群がる、押し寄せるという意味を持ち、昆虫、動物、人、選手、メディアなどが一斉に集まる状況を表します。スポーツではディフェンダーが一斉に群がる。ビジネスではお店やイベントに人が殺到するといった場面で使われます。ニュースやスポーツ解説、ビジネスの話題でよく使われる表現です。
Because he's going to be swarmed. Because he's going to be swarmed. He could very easily spin on a dime for himself and take a shot.
スピンオンナダイムは急旋回する。素早く方向転換するという意味のイディオムズ。ダイムはアメリカの10セント硬貨のことですが、小さなコインで狭い範囲で回転しやすいことから、小さなスペースで急旋回するという意味で使われます。スポーツでは素早いターン。車の運転では小回りが利く。ビジネスでは素早い方針転換を表すときに使われます。スポーツ実況やビジネス英語を学ぶ人には覚えておくと便利なフレーズでしょう。
He could very easily spin on a dime for himself and take a shot. He could very easily spin on a dime for himself and take a shot, but he just darts inside once.
ダートインサイドは素早く内側へ動くという意味のフレーズでスポーツや日常生活でよく使われます。サッカーやバスケットボールでは選手がサイドから中央へ切れ込む動きを表し、日常会話では素早く建物や部屋の中に入るという意味で使われます。スポーツ実況やネイティブとの会話で耳にすることがあるでしょ
う。But he just darts inside once. Really rearing its ugly head in one singular moment.
リアーは後部、育てる、持ち上がるという意味を持つ単語で名詞、動詞、形容詞として使われます。乗り物や建物の後部を指す場合、子供や動物を育てる場合、馬や波が持ち上がる場合、など幅広い文脈で使用されます。
Really rearing its ugly head in one singular moment. Really rearing its ugly head in one singular moment. And obviously a really prosperous situation for Brighton.
プラスペラスは繁栄した、成功した、裕福なという意味を持ち、経済、キャリア、社会の発展や成功を表す際に使われ、特にビジネスや投資、国家の発展、キャリアの成功などの話題でよく登場します。スポーツチームやビジネスの戦略が成功する可能性が高いという意味でも使われます。
And obviously a really prosperous situation for Brighton. And obviously a really prosperous situation for Brighton. Cucurella tries to make a last-ditch tackle, a last-ditch block.
ラストディッチは最後の手段の土壇場のという意味を持ち、スポーツ、ビジネス、戦争、政治などの文脈でよく使われます。ディッチーは溝や塹壕の意味から、ラストディッチーは最後の防衛ラインの塹壕で戦うことを指し、転じて最後の必死の試みという意味となり、特にこれでダメなら終わりという状況での必死の努力を表します。交渉や競争の場面でよく使われる表現です。
Cucurella tries to make a last-ditch tackle, a last-ditch block.Cucurella tries to make a last-ditch tackle, a last-ditch block, or almost a carbon copy of what he did to Cucurella.
カーボンコピーはそっくりなもの、完全に同じものという意味を持つフレーズ。もともとはカーボン紙を使った複写技術に由来し、現在では見た目や行動がそっくりな人やもの、コピーのように同じものを指す比喩表現として使われます。E メールの CC の由来にもなっており、ビジネス英語では日常的に使われる表現です。
Or almost a carbon copy of what he did to Cucurella. Or almost a carbon copy of what he did to Cucurella. How to generally be resolute.
新年の抱負という意味である New Year's Resolution のフレーズから知っている人も多いかもしれませんが、名詞形であるリソリューションの動詞の形であるレゾリュートは、決意の固い、揺るがないという意味を持ち、ビジネスやスポーツ、政治の話題でよく使われます。目標に向かってまっすぐ進む人や、困難にも屈しない態度を表すときに適した言葉です。
How to generally be resolute. How to generally be resolute.
いかがでしたか？三笘薫が衝撃的なゴールを決め、すべてのフットボールファンが歓喜し、今シーズン最高のゴールだとか、プレミアで最高のタッチだと喜び、チェルシーが早速獲得しようとしたり、ナポリやバイエルンも話に上がってきましたね。三笘のゴールが圧倒的に注目を浴びたものの、そのプレーを生んだチームの戦術や、他の得点に関しても三笘やミンテのサイドでのプレーの効果も大きく、チーム全体としてもやろうとしていたことが結果になったような気がしますね。チェルシーにはできなくて、ブライトンにはできたと簡単には言っても、そこには戦術があり、それを実現させるプレイヤーのスキルと意識が必要であり、それを体現したのがブライトンであり、三笘薫のセンセーショナルなゴールだったのだと思います。まだまだ三笘について話してほしいですが、またすぐに次の試合が来ますので、次の試合でもまた素晴らしいプレーを見せてくれることを楽しみにしたいと思います。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございました。またすぐにお会いしましょう。